everybody, welcome to Lisa's Art Room. Tonight we're going to be working on a new journal. So this one is going to be a field notes journal. I will be doing two because one is already promised to somebody. So I'm going to be doing two, and I'm going to have you guys help me decide which covers to do. Bonnie expressed some interest, so we'll see if she's on tonight, hopefully, and we'll go from there. But if not, I'll just pick one and we'll make it work. But I don't know that I will be doing both of them live every time because that gets to be a little bit much. But what I'll do is the one that I don't do live and I do off camera, I will just show you what I did the next session. Okay, so we did this back when I did the classic Christmas one, and it worked out okay. It's a little bit tricky, but it works out okay. They will not be exactly identical because I just don't have doubles of everything. So even if I tried to make them the same, I probably couldn't. All right, so that's it in a nutshell. So let's go ahead. Let's see if our volume is okay. Nobody's on yet. I hope this thing is working. Let me see if I can pull up my live. It's not showing on my end yet, so refresh. Oh, thanks, Dawn. Dawn let me know it was all right. So that's good. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull the camera up top so we can get started on this. Let me give it something to focus on. You didn't get a notification. It's probably because it's not an event. Although it might still give one when I go live. I don't know. I did not do an event because it keeps messing up my event time. And it keeps telling me that it's like a whole day after when the event really is. So I just been going live. All right, so I've got lots of fabrics, all very pretty. And then I'll have to figure out papers. I still haven't done that. I figured out the papers for my original thought. I'm not sure if I'm doing that one still. I may not. So these are my Amazon packaging. So this one is from an M8. It doesn't really matter as long as it's big enough what the size is. So I have already torn it in half. It comes like, basically like this, okay? And then what I do is I split the two pieces and turn them inside out. That way the outside has a nice blank canvas, and then I write what everything is on it. So I've got inside right cover, inside left cover, front cover, back cover, and then this is where the pocket will be on this side. I'm going to do a side pocket on both of the ones I'm doing. I think that works out pretty, it works good. It works good either way, but I think I prefer the side pocket. I usually have a little more room when I do a side pocket than I do the top pockets. So let's see, this is front cover, back cover, and inside right, inside left. So that one goes like that. Okay, so I went ahead and have two of them ready. So this is 9 by 14. That's the size I like because it fits an 8.5 by 11 sheet very well. So I've been doing this size a lot. It just seems to work out, but I'll just double check. But it should be 9. And I'll have to use my grid for the other. By 14, yeah. So 9 by 14. Hey Lori, hey Charlene, hey Shirley. What else do I have? Dawn said, I had to fix it again. Facebook updated and unclicked a button again. Ugh. Always. I swear it's always something, isn't it? All right. So I don't think I missed anything. All right. So, we're going to start with this one, I think. They're the same. They should be exactly the same. So I've got a bunch of fabric. I'm going to show you. I don't know if there's anyone new. There's probably some new people watching. I'll just show you just so you know where I'm getting these from. So these are just your typical Amazon packages. They usually have, you know, an opening somewhere and then the sides. And they're all different sizes. The M2 is this size. This will fit like a one signature journal, which is nice if you're only doing a one signature. It's rare I do a one signature. But every now and then. Today we are using, let's see if I have any more of them. I haven't been ordering as much. I'm going to run out. I'll have to use something else. That's not possible. It is. All right, so M2s. There's a lot of M2s. Because like I said, they only work on one signature because they're just not quite long enough. All right, here's an M9. An M9 is what I used for one of the ones I just showed you. And the other one was an M8. When I'm telling you these numbers, it's just the number that's on these Amazon packages. It's probably got something to do with size, I'm sure. But an M9 happens to be exactly 14 inches this way. So that's where I get the cut from. And then I just cut it to 9 inches tall. So it would be this bottom piece here. And then I just split it in half. And the way I do that is I take my palette knife, some sort of a flat, this is a little sharp because I clean it with sandpaper, so it is a little bit sharp. But I just take that, and what I do is I stick it inside the two, and then I run it along this edge. And you just work it along that edge until it comes out, okay? And when you do that, it separates it. And every now and then one will tear, but honestly, it rarely tears, okay? So it just separates it like that, which works very well for separating the two pieces. And I separate them because I do a pocket. If I don't, it doesn't work out as easily. All right, let me get all this out of my way. Put it there. So we will be sewing today, so you're going to have to deal with me moving stuff and trying to get my sewing machine up on this table, which is always a challenge. It's not the best setup for sewing, but it works. It is doable, barely. So that's what you got first, so you want that. These happen to be the ones that have that little bit of padding inside them, this foamy stuff. It's like a cushiony foam stuff. And typically what I will do is I'll take that little bit of foam that's right on the edge there and just run my finger along it and just pull it off, and then I just glue that edge shut because I don't want the foam, I don't like it sticking out and getting in my way. So that's typically what I do. And it's messy, but it rolls off quite easily. Put that in the trash. If it doesn't static clean to everything. And then I just take a bead of glue. You don't really have to glue it closed because you're going to be sewing it anyway. But I usually do. I think I do. Honestly, I do it mostly because I like to not get confused about which part comes apart. Because some of this comes apart and some of it's, you know, two solid pieces. And I like it to be very clear that that's my solid piece. I already glued the other end, I think, or it was the bottom, I don't know which. I'm just using a little bit of art glitter glue. Art glitter, Barely Arts, anything like that's fine. PVA glue, Fabri-Tac, doesn't really matter. Just glue them together. It's just paper, so. All right. And I didn't put much because, like I said, I'm going to be sewing it. So I've marked this where I need to mark it for the journal. So you see these 3 marks. Okay, so there's 3 marks there. One is at 6, one is at 7, and one is at 8. And that makes it, the 7 is the halfway point because it's 14. And then the 2 6s from each side is the side of the spine. So you have a 2-inch spine and then 6 inches on both sides. And when you're working with an 8.5 by 11, you've got that 5.5 inch that fits in there perfectly. And then this is 9, so the 8.5 fits in there perfectly. So that's where that comes from. Got one little spot here I didn't mark yet. So just go ahead and mark that. I just marked it with a pencil. It doesn't matter. I'm going to cover it up. But I do like it there just for reference while I'm working anyway. You know, may or may not have to remark things. But usually, as long as I know about where they are, it works fine. So if I do 6, 7, and 8, then I've got 6 to that point. And if I turn it around, I should have 6 to the other point. It's off a fraction, which means I'm probably the tiniest bit bigger than 14. Or it didn't line up my ruler perfectly. Yeah, I'm a 1/16 of an inch bigger than 14, so that's my bad. But it's close enough. It'll be fine. Like I said, they're mainly just kind of for a guideline, so I know where the spine's going to be. All right, so this is my pocket side. So the pocket side needs to have a lining of paper. So we're going to be gluing paper here and here for this pocket because that's going to be a pocket. This gets our inside cover, and then I'll also put a pocket here, and this gets our outside cover. Okay. So let's look at our fabrics. Is Bonnie on yet? Let me look. I don't think I saw her yet. I hope she comes on. All right. I don't know if anyone else had expressed an interest of buying one of these because I can only do so many. All right. So I've cut these fabrics to where they are just bigger than this bag. So dimension wise, you know, 9.5 almost by say 14.5 is approximate, but I just get them to where they just barely overhang the edge, like maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. You just want them overhanging enough that you don't see the paper bag sticking out. So that's how these are cut. And then the pocket, which don't pay attention to the colors yet because this isn't really what I'm talking about. The pocket is basically the same length, and then I just kind of guess where I want the pocket. On this one I did it 4.5, so, and that would be the size I would do for a pocket. And then so this was supposed to go with this, and then I have some Tim Holtz fabric, this. So this was one cover I had planned to do today. We shall see. I'm still kind of waiting to see if Bonnie jumps on. I was hoping she did so I could decide. But if she doesn't, I could always just do another cover for her offline because she said she wanted to buy one possibly. But if it's only a possibility, I'm not sure how that's going to work. So these go together very nicely. This will be the outside cover, and then this would be the inside with the pocket. So they would be fitting like that. And it would look basically something like this. Okay, so that was my one design. And like I said, that's my Tim Holtz fabric. It's just, you know, it says field label. It's got like all the little specimen type labels. I don't know what you call them. What do you call those? I don't know. Labels. It's not really, some are botanical, I guess. I'm sure it's a little bit of everything. It's flora, it's fauna, it's pretty much everything. So here are the other fabrics I have. So I have these pretty greens. One has a plain, and the other one has like these kind of like leaves and flowers, I guess. It's more like leaves. So I have those two, and then I have this is the one that Dawn wants. So hers is going to be this fabric, which has mushrooms and cloche, I think you call those. I don't remember, something like that. And then butterflies and some plates and some moths and a couple little flowers here and there. It's cute. So one of these, depending on which one I decide, I think I like it. Depends on where you cut the fabric, you know, to what you're going to get on the front cover. So always try to look at that and decide what looks best. This one would give me this on the front cover. Okay, so you'd have a flower, some mushrooms, this flower, you know, these little daisies. And it would be, it's 6 inches, so it would be to about here. Okay, so just at that daisy edge. And then the other one would give me this butterfly, flowers, the daisies down here, mushrooms over here, and that one would go to right there. So I don't know if you like, did I freeze again? I don't know if you like one better than the other, Dawn. Here, let me fold them the way they would look. I'm sure you don't particularly care, but sometimes people do. So I'm just going to ask you real quick. You can kind of look at those two and see, does one look better to you than the other? And just give me an answer on that real quick and let me know. And while she's thinking about that, oh, sweetie, you know I don't know what that one was. I see that 40 seconds later. You'll have to right or left. Right or left. Butterfly. So right. If so, I'm good, because that's the one I originally cut for you. I was like, she's gonna want that butterfly. That's funny. Anyway, so this one, and then we have to decide for this one whether we want the inside to have the plain green and then the pocket to be this, or do we want this to be the most of the material and the pocket to be this? So do you want the leaves as the pocket or leaves as the background on the center? Just so I know. Like I said, it's my replies are so slow. I hate that. So she's going to pick one of those, and that's going to be hers. Do you need me to show it again? Let me know. And then my last fabric I had was this one, which is these pretty florals, and that will have the same thing for the pocket and the background. So one of these two, one will be the pocket and one will be the other. I'm leaning toward, I think, the pocket to be the pretty one, although I'm not sure. So this one will be like this. Leaf as the background. Okay. So Dawn's is leaf as background. So on this one, I have to decide which way I want it. You might be right. It might look better that way. It would be easier to decorate this too if I wanted to put anything on there. A lot of times I don't. Maybe like that. So this is the last one. So hopefully, we'll see if Bonnie comes on. I think what I'll do is I'll work on, maybe I'll work on Dawn's today, and then I'll let Bonnie decide if she wants the Tim Holtz botanical look, if she's going to buy it or not. If she's not, then I'll just pick one. But the second cover I'll do off camera because it's too much to do too. But it would be a choice between this look or this look, or I have one more piece of that fabric that I could do the same as Dawn, except Dawn gets the butterfly. You would get this one. So I'm talking to Bonnie if she gets on. She said she might buy one. All right, so this will be my possibly second or third one. We'll see. It's pretty, isn't it? I had too many fabrics to choose from. Too many. So now I have to decide a paper for this one. So the paper will go, so this will be my outside. And then this, and so I'm going to tear this one down. I think I'm going to tear it. We'll see. I might cut it. And then this will be the inside with a pocket with the little green. So I'm going to try to see if it'll tear. I think it will. I prefer them to tear because then you get that nice edge. And when you don't tear them, they tend to, I'm going to do about 4.5. They tend to not, I don't know, they just don't look as good. I like that edge that you get when you tear. When you don't tear, the line of the sides doesn't pull out evenly all the way across the length because it's not on the grain. But this particular fabric, for whatever reason, and I run into this every now and then, this one did not want me to tear it. Every time I tried to tear it, it started just going completely crooked. I was like, what are you doing? I don't even know what it was doing. I was like, okay, that is not working. So luckily I bought a yard, so I had plenty. I tend to buy enough that I have plenty when I buy fabrics for these because sometimes they just mess up on you and yeah, start over. So which one's that for? Yeah, that's 4.5. I'll use that one for the pocket. Aren't they pretty? I like these florals too. They're also pretty. So I didn't iron this, but usually by the time you glue it down, it's fine. If I think it's going to be an issue, I might spritz it. This one's got a pretty strong relatively strong fold there, so I'm just going to spritz it and give it a dry with the blow dryer real quick. It'll dry in like, on its own it would dry in like 10 minutes anyway, but so that'll be like that. But you can get the wrinkles out pretty easy just by spritzing it, which is why the glue usually does it for you. Let me just dry that real quick. That one. Okay, so let's pick a paper that will look good with this. got not sure what color is going to work. So this is haberdashery. I don't think there's any in here that'll work. I think these are going to be a little darker than I want to go. But it's mostly not even visible, honestly. It's got some pearls. Right, not that one probably. Maybe Tattered and Worn has some good ones. The Tim Holtz ones, I think I'm going to save those for inside for pages because they're double-sided and I hate to use them for the pocket because you only see one side. So let's see. Let's pull this back over here. All right, so what would look good with this? Greens. There's the greens. That's not too bad. It's like got music notes on it. It's actually not horrible. Kind of surprising. That's a nice floral. I don't know if it's too much of that, but like I said, it's in the pocket, so it doesn't really show a lot. I think I like that better than that. Don't think I want those colors. And then we have some browns. Too busy. What do you think, Dawn? You like this green? Maybe that? I'm trying to see what else I have. I have an ephemera pack here. Let's see what's in it. Some butterflies, but I'll probably save that for a page because it's almost too pretty for a pocket. Too pink. A lot of these are too busy, I think. All right. I am thinking that green. She says she likes it. Okay, good. All right. Green it is. Okay. Set this aside for right now. Next, we got to figure out a ribbon. So I have several ribbons here. All of them look great, but let's see if we can figure it out. So I have this green ribbon. I used this on the Christmas one, the classic Christmas I think you got, Dawn. It's that velvety with the frayed edge. I have some of that left, which is also in that sage green kind of family. I have this satin. I think it's satin. It's a thin satin. It's a darker green, but it's still the green in that green family. And then I have this plaid. What do you call this? There's a name for it. It just says check ribbon. It's sage and ivory, so that matches nice. This is decently soft. This is decently soft. This is a little stiffer, so I don't know how well it'll hold a knot. And then I have just regular basic plain stuff, like I have this plain kind of a twill tape. And then I have lace, just this crocheted lace. So many choices. Look at all these choices. So we have gingham. That's the word I was thinking. So a gingham green. We have a lace. We have a twill. We have a satin, and we have a velvet. Do you have a preference? We'll see what she says. All right. So those are the things you have to figure out. You have to figure out your cover. You have to figure out your inside, your pocket, your ribbon, and that's about it. She loves the first one, the gingham or the lace. All right. Let's go with this. I like the way it feels. It feels like it would tie well. So let's go with that. And I know you can't feel it, but okay. And then we'll go with the other one. I'll do the same kind of decision making on the other one. I just don't know which one I'm going to use yet. But I think I have plenty of all of them. So you want your ribbon to go across the inside. I take mine all the way across. So you don't have to. You could probably just come a little bit on the inside and get away with it, but I prefer to take it all the way across. I just think it's not likely to pull out if I do that. So I like to go all the way across and then enough on the outside to tie. So however much you feel like you need to tie. I feel like I do about a good 10 inches on average. Let me see if I have one sitting here I can judge from. How much is in this junk one? This one's a little bit long, so that one's 11 inches. So at least 10 inches is usually a good size for tying. Okay. So you would want your ribbon to be the length of this, so 14 plus 10 plus 10, so what, 24, 34 inches. So a yard is a good length. Now, I don't know how much this frays. Let me see. Yeah, it frays a little bit, so we'll close those off. We're just going to cut it diagonally. And then I'll melt them. You could also use glue if you don't want to use fire. Just enough to get it to not unravel. There's that. All right, so now we want to go ahead and find the center so we know where this goes. So we're just going to mark the center. So that would be 4.5 and 4.5. Okay. And you want the ribbon to be underneath your paper. I think this is the same on either side, which is nice too. And I'm just going to fold it to find the middle. If I can hold on to it. So there's my middle. And I had a middle marked here somewhere, but I don't see it. Where is it at? There it is. I'll just mark it loosely. Approximately the middle. Somewhere out there. All right. And that's going to go underneath my pocket paper on the bottom. Okay. You have to think about how it's going to close. You don't want to put it on the top side because it would pull on the wrong side. Does that make sense? You want it to pull the outside closed, so it can't be on this side. All right, we're gonna use some Fabri-Tac. Although honestly, I'll just use art glitter, I think. It just has to be a really light tack for this because it's also going to be sewed. Although I'm probably going to use Fabri-Tac on all of it. But this is quicker, so I'm just going to throw some of this down real quick. Just enough to hold it in place. And then I'm going to close it and make sure that it matches. So close it up, line them up, and make sure it matches. So I'm off just a fraction, so I'm going to come that way. Just a tiny, tiny bit up. Make sure it matches. All right, now we look pretty good. All right, so it matches up. And we're going to cut our paper to fit that. I should be able to get 2 out of this. This is a 12 by 12. Let me look at the direction. It doesn't really matter on this, but I think I want the stripes going that way. So let's just cut that in half. If I can find my cutter. Where are you? There you are. Really buried it. Goodness gracious. Alright. So half of these 6. And then this is 9. I don't want to go all the way to the edge. I'm going to say just a fraction under 9 is all I need. I'm just going to cut them both at the same time. I think I can. So just under 9, like 8 3/4 or so. Most of it you won't see because it's going to get sewed and glued and all that. Okay, save those. You might use them for a pocket or something. All right. This can be just normal art glitter or it could be Fabri-Tac for this glue. Doesn't particularly matter. I was debating on how thin it was. The thinner it is, the more likely I am to use Fabri-Tac because it doesn't tend to warp as much as art glitter does, because art glitter is a wet glue and Fabri-Tac is an acetone based glue, and acetone based glues warp less than wet glues. But I think this is okay, so we're just gonna use this. Move this out of my way and give me a piece of cardboard. Trying not to destroy my table. So this is 6 inches. It should go exactly up to the spine, where the center of the spine starts. Like I said, the only part that really needs to be glued well is the outside edge, because most of it's going to get sewed in. You could even, honestly, you could even use a glue stick for this. I would probably use, if I was going to use a glue stick, I'd probably use a glue stick and then use a little teeny bit of art glitter on the edge. I'll try to get that as close to the edge as I can. Okay, and then just glue that down. So that is my bottom. And then the top of the pocket is this. No, where is it? It's the other piece. Let me think. Let me think. Inside right. It's this. That's why I have this note here. It says pocket top. If you aren't sure, just put it back together and look at it. Front cover. Inside right, inside left, back cover. All right, this is our pocket. So we need it here. So I'm gonna lay that there. Some glue on here. One side pretty good. I don't really This design is pretty much overall, so it's not got a direction I really have to worry about. And then try to match that side up as best I can. Our glitter dries really fast, so if you're not good at putting stuff in place, make sure you give yourself enough time, because it does dry fast. All right, so there's that piece. So turn it around the right way. There we go. All right, so that's going to end up being the pocket. Okay, so it'll be there. And then our ribbon closure will be like that, and it will close like this. Okay. So we got to cover, let's see, we got to do the sides where the pocket is first when we sew it, because we can't sew this and then sew this last, because the pocket has to be open. So now this part gets a little tricky, but I think we'll be all right. Hopefully you'll understand me. All right, figure out your direction of your fabric. That is important. I've got arrows on here that say which way is up. This is my inside right. We don't want that. Where's my inside right? I laid it over here somewhere. There it is. Inside right. This isn't super directional either. I guess the little flower things, I don't know. Let me look at them. Are they open things? They don't have a stem. I guess I like them better up, with the opening up, right? I think that makes sense. We'll do the opening up. So that'll go there. That's the inside. And then this will go on the back, which is the front cover, like this. Okay. Now, sometimes they don't all match up exactly right. I'll fray the edges and make it match after. It's just easier to worry about it. But I try to get them as close as I can. This material is really trying to roll on me. Stay down. All right, so let's think about this. This part's always so confusing. So what we want to do is we want to secure this edge first, okay? Because when you sew it, you're going to come all the way to the end. And if you try to sew around the whole thing, you can't leave this side open without doing this side first. Unless you've done like hems or something, I don't know, or you do sewing, you might not understand that. But just trust me, you have to sew this first on its own, which is why these pieces are separate. So we're going to sew this to this. First, I'm going to make sure it's laid on there as even as I can. So I'm going to glue that in a second. And then this one goes on this. I'm just double checking my labels and make sure everything is in the right spot. Inside left. Okay. So this is going to go here, and we're going to sew this edge where the pocket is. Okay. So we want to make sure that it's at least tacked on here to where it will be in the right position. So let's see if we can line it up. Like I said, I tried to give myself a little bit of a bit around the edge. The rarely square is so rare. Even, no matter how hard I try to cut these things square, I cut this square, I cut that square, it never matches. I don't know why. It's always off just a little. And I assume it's just because fabrics tend to stretch and move, and, you know, or the grain is weird and all kinds of things you run into. So just get as close as you can. If there's too much, you can deal with that later and cut it off. But what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to cut this side off. I'm going to get this side as close as I can, because that's the opening side, and I like it to be nice and snug. So I'm going to get that side pretty close. and then try to get as square as I can. I actually might have to fray that a little bit more, so I'll leave a little bit on there. And then I might take off that excess because I made it, I think, a little too big. I think that's all right. All right, so what I want to do is I want to tack this edge that I'm going to sew, but I don't want a lot of glue right there where I'm going to sew because it'll get in my, my thread and my needle and all that. So I'm just going to put a little bit underneath. So I just flip that over. And I'm going to try to avoid that outside edge for now. If I have to put more glue later, I can. So I'm going to avoid the outside edge and just kind of stay in just a little bit. And I just want to get that first inch or so tacked down. Technically, I guess I could go ahead and put the whole thing down. I might. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Maybe I will. I haven't been doing it, but I think I will. And then spread it with something. If Fabri-Tac dries too fast, put another layer, because sometimes it's darn Fabri-Tac. I don't know why, but it'll dry super fast on you and you can't even get it spread out. But you do want to spread it, especially if your fabric's thin. Like that fabric that we're putting on the front is very thin. I'm going to try to line this up and then move it over. So I got to check it on the back. So I'm just going to line that up. Make sure I am still square. It's just not wanting to. Yeah, we'll probably go ahead and glue this one down because it's a little bit funky. It just did not want to cut square for me. So hopefully that'll stick. Let me see if it's sticking. A little. Okay. So let's go ahead and glue this whole thing down. Not on the edge though. So I'm going to try to, I got to flip it over because I don't like putting glue on the material. If you put glue on your material, it tends to show through. Try not to put glue on your material. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue this down, not the edge. So I'm staying in a good ½ an inch. Fabri-Tac does give you a minute to move it, so you can do it and then flip it over. Just make sure you're still straight. You haven't gotten all wonky. So far, so good. I do prefer this part to be glued very well because that's your spine and you're going to be sewing your signatures in there. And what happens if that's not secured real well? Sometimes when you're putting your needle through all those layers, it gets weird, and it just doesn't want to stay lined up. So it's actually way over here. I thought it was there already, but it wasn't. That's why those marks help that I put on there. I feel like this stuff's trying to dry on me already. Quit trying to dry. Okay, so I did a decent amount of glue there. Just gonna flip it, make sure I'm still in line. I'm good. Make sure that's down as much as I can. I like that one down a lot. Just after doing, 30 or 40 of these, you start realizing things that kind of mess you up later. And that was one thing I kept running into, is that with that having any kind of little gaps on that spine, I was running into it, just not into a line for me. And I am only doing this a little at a time because the glue dries too fast. Unless you've got a brand new bottle, sometimes the brand new bottle doesn't dry quite as fast. I think the acetone starts evaporating over time, and so it's not quite as liquid. This will also help keep it from moving when you're sewing by going ahead and gluing it. As long as you're sure of the position. I'll probably go ahead and stick the pocket on here and sew it too. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I've done it both ways. Not going all the way to the edge. I know I keep saying that, but honestly, I'm saying it as much for you as me. For me as you. I don't want to forget, because I don't want to gum up my needle. Alright, that should be good. Alright, so that's that. Can't see my arrow. I'm going to go ahead and draw that back on because I don't want to get confused. But that is up. Probably should have drawn it on before I did it, but so I didn't draw it on this side either. I actually didn't draw it on any of these sides. What were you thinking? It's always the way that I write, so I know which is up. I do it there. And then I'm going to do one here just so I know. Alright. So now we got to do the front cover. Like I said, I'm going to start on this side because that's the side I tend to want the neatest. The other side I can just trim it and it's not as big a deal. Alright, so we're going to try and match. I'm going to go this way. Make sure I'm up. Yes. So make sure your material is the right way. And we're going to tack this on here. If I can get my fabric tack to come out. I have a new bottle sitting here. If I get too frustrated, I'll grab it. This is, I think it's just a little bit low. Oh my goodness. Come on. Wasn't letting enough air in. I might grab the new one. That was a little closer than I wanted. I didn't want quite that close to the edge. Probably be dry by the time I get to sewing it, but just in case it's not. Where'd my little thing go? I lost my spreader. Sticking it to stuff. Alright, so I'm going to try to line this up. I'll turn it over to line it up. Because you can't do it from that side. It doesn't work. Making sure my cord is, or my ribbon is where I want it. Alright, how are we doing? So this one's a little, I knew it was a little uneven. But I think it's okay. It is okay. Alright, so we're going to glue some more. So you can't see that glue, which is what you want. That's why spreading it and putting it on this. I'm going to switch this out though. Let me grab the other one. I think it's open. Let me see. Nope, it's not open. Maybe I should just use it to refill this one. Let's do that real quick. Not that one. The bottom one. Tried to take off the little one. I didn't want to take off the little one. I want the other one. It's not even open. All right. I'm just going to throw some of this in because it'll make it run faster, I think. And if you've never used Fabri-Tac before, guys, it's acetone, and it smells like acetone because it's, you know, the same stuff you use for, you know, taking nail polish off. So it stinks. Make sure you ventilate if you're using it too much. Same kind of safety precaution as you would, you know, taking your nail polish off. I don't know anything about that because I'm a nail biter, but no, I'm kidding. I do know. I used to have nails when I had fake ones, but then that got too expensive. That was back when I worked in a bank and cared about what my fingers look like. That's so much better. Oh my God. So much better when the glue is actually coming out right. Just make sure I'm still straight. Yeah, that's good enough. Remember, we're sewing, so don't have to go all the way to the edge. And I'm laying this down, but I'm going to flip it. If I have to, I'll adjust it. Oh, perfect. All right. It's all good. Whew. Wearing me out. I have done so much this week. I'm exhausted. We have this oak tree, and you cannot grow grass under the house. Decided, hey, let's plant an oak tree here, and then we'll put grass under it, and then we'll try to force people to make sure their grass grows. And then they yell at you and try to fine you when your grass won't grow because it's under an oak tree. Well, so we're out there trying to redo the grass, and it's full of rocks. Like, they literally, during the construction, it was their trash pile. Our driveway, where this oak tree is, it's their construction area. And there is so much junk in there. We're coming up with can lids. We came up with, like, wires, some rope, a big paint can lid, the plastic ones. It's all buried like this deep. They just tossed it all in there. And this is why grass wouldn't grow, because there's probably no room for the roots between all the rocks and the can lids. So, yeah. I was just like, really? All right, so that looks okay. That looks okay. A little bit of glue there, but I think it'll be all right. All right, so we're still good. We got our pocket. We've got this piece. This is our centerpiece. Just make sure everything fits together nicely. Make sure our pocket's in the right spot. Pull things in the right spot. And this. Okay. So these we'll figure out, and I'll trim them where they fit. This one barely fits. Let me look at that. It fits. I know it does. Yeah, it fits. It's just real close. But I honestly prefer it like that, so I think it's fine. All right, so we got to sew this edge, and then we got to sew this edge. So the two edges with the pockets, what you want to sew. So let me get the sewing machine, put up my glue. I didn't close my art glitter. I didn't even bring water, so let me figure that out. I didn't think I'd need water today. As long as you remember to put your pen in and you don't have to clean it off, you don't need water. Right there. Okay. All right, now the fun part, trying to get my sewing machine up here. So bear with me, it might get bumpy. Yes, so I was out there first raking up all the rocks and pulling out all the debris, and that was exhausting. And then we had to lay topsoil down, and then we had to lay like a soil with fertilizer down. And I threw a little peat in there just to make sure that it could get some moisture, because who knows what's, down there. No one knows. So there was that. That was exhausting. But we got the grass planted. We'll just have to see if it actually grows. And that's like, who knows? I don't know if it'll grow or not. All right, I'm putting my mic down. I'm putting it in front so I won't forget. But I gotta go plug this in, so I gotta walk around the table here. I always tell y'all because I forget to put it on all the time. Okay. Hey, Jimmy Lou. We are making a journal. Alright, so, like I said, we want to do the two sides with the pocket. I'm just going to use a straight stitch. You can do straight or zigzag, but my machine does not really like zigzag. It'll tolerate the short zigzag that stays on one side of the opening, but when I do the one that goes all the way across, it gets really mad at me. It starts messing up. So, alright, so first things first, I'm going to sew this on. I'm going to try to get this where I can kind of sort of let y'all see, but you won't be able to see great. So, I apologize. It is what it is. So, I'm just going to sew that edge as close as I can get it. So, like, we'll say, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch probably. I'm doing it on the inside. I prefer to do it on the outside, but every time I try, I miss the paper. Alright, it doesn't look too bad. Sometimes the outside stitch isn't great, but it's not too bad. I'm going to move this piece of wood, though. Alright, so we have that one. Let me just trim it real quick. Okay, and that's just securing that to that very well. And then I want to do this one where the pocket is. Now on this one, where this little ribbon is, I'm going to go back and forth there just like once, just to give it a little more security. Just because I like to do that. Okay, let's see how that thread looks. All right, doable. So we have this secured, and we have the top of that secured. Okay, so that's our opening. Okay, and then that's our front. So now we have to line everything up and go ahead and sew everything except this opening. And that's why we sewed this first, because now we're going to come across those two stitches to secure that part of it. Okay, does that make sense? So we had to sew this first because we had to come all the way to the end. All right, so on this one, I think I will flip it so the stitch is on the outside. But I'm going to use my little quilters thingies and secure this edge. So just line it up as best you can. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and trim that one side. Let me see if I can get this over just a little bit. I'm gonna trim this where I've got all that excess, where I overestimated my amount of fabric. I'm gonna go ahead and trim that off. I can't tear it, so I'm just gonna cut it. I wish my rotary was working, but it is not. So I'm going to use scissors, if I can find my big scissors. Sewing scissors. Alright, so we're just going to trim this a little bit. I'm going to leave about 1/8 so I can fray it some. I just don't want that bulk sitting off there. It'll be confusing when I'm sewing it. Now I'll just go ahead and fray that out a little bit. All right, that's better. So figure out where it matches and make sure you are the right way. So we know that this is the inside pocket part. This is the outside. All right, let me think. My brain isn't working right now. Inside, bottom, right. There. I did it. Yay. All right, so make sure it's all together. And what you want to do is make together and lined up. So line them up. Get your little clip and clip them in there. Now, I'm not sewing here, okay? So I'm clipping this side completely closed. Sometimes I stick myself a sticky note there too because I don't want to accidentally sew down that part. That part does not need sewed. It is good. It is good to go. All right, and then make sure this is all even. So far, so good. That's pretty even. And clip this one, you know, a normal way. You're going to have to just remove the clips as we go. So. Hopefully y'all can see, kind of, sort of. I'm trying to keep it in camera. It's tricky with the sewing machine. All right. And hopefully we've got this nice and flush so it doesn't start bunching on us. Those are things you got to watch for, which is why gluing it does help. Just trying to get this to line up perfectly. Now when I get to this side, I could go ahead and glue this closed where the pocket's not. So let me see. This is the top. I don't keep the pocket on this side. I only keep the pocket on the back side because honestly, I don't know why. I just never have. I don't feel like it needs two pockets, and it's just one more thing to worry about. So typically I glue that down. So I think I'll go ahead and glue that, at least for the most part. So let me undo that real quick, and I'm just going to glue that closed. Because it doesn't really need to be open for any reason. I'm just going to use art glitter for this. I don't really care if it glues absolutely perfectly. I just wanted to glue closed mostly. I'm not getting near the edge. It'll also secure that ribbon nicely. But just put a little bit in there because we don't need that side. Make sure it still matches up. A little points, yep. Everything's matching. Yep, okay. Now we can close it. And I will be double stitching there just because I do. Probably don't need all these clips. All right, so what I like to do is, this is my pocket side, so I want to make sure I don't sew that since the billion clips there. I'm going to start here and then end here. Okay, so all the way around. I'm going to do it on the outside of the cover, which is this side. I'm just going to double check myself. Yeah, okay. So let's do that. Let's get all these scissors out of the way. All right. I'm going to have to move those two. Just stick them over here. Stick this there. All right. And make sure that you stay, ideally, try to remember to catch that paper. okay? You don't want to sew just like right there, or it might pull out with the fraying. So just grab the paper a little bit. And usually I kind of know where it is, but I've missed it before and then had to just kind of glue it. But I try to kind of feel as I'm going, and I can kind of feel where it is. And just backed up a little bit there. Okay, quit moving on me. Got a little bunch going on. Hold on. Where's my tweezers? Sometimes, like I said, it'll try to bunch on you if it's the fabric's got too much give. And if you find that's happening, sometimes you can just release a pin or two and it'll be all right. I've only had it happen once that it got really bad, and for whatever reason the fabric was just wrinkling like crazy. Okay, when you get to the end, leave your needle down, lift your foot, and spin it. Okay, I'm not far enough. Let me do one more. Maybe two more. Okay, this ribbon, I don't want to sew it in there, so make sure it's loose. I got that cardboard. Alright, so grab the ribbon, hold it straight so it's not crooked. Alright, needle down, flip her again. This material was a little bit wonky. I don't know why. I've never had an issue with my materials like I did with this particular one. But it was like it wanted to stretch too much, and when I tried to tear it, it just wasn't tearing the grain. Sorry, I'm barely pushing that pedal. I'm trying to straighten this. Come on. I'm hesitant. You can't see what's going on, but it's trying to bunch on me. I'm trying to keep it as flat as I can. Alright. To the end. Did not glue my pocket closed. Where'd my scissors go? There they are. Alright, pull off our pins. Clips, column. All right. Let's see what we got. Okay, there's our pocket. A nice big pocket. And there is our cover. All right, so the spine will end up being 2 inches. It'll end up being about 2 inches. I didn't sew the pocket. I could do it now. I just wouldn't mean going around twice. Sometimes I glue it, sometimes I sew it. I was going to sew it though. I forgot. Oh well, I'll sew it now maybe. I think I prefer them sewed. I think they look prettier. It'll just mean a double stitch, but that's okay. Sometimes I'll go around 2 or 3 times just to give it a more, I don't know, rugged look. It doesn't really hurt anything as long as you keep your ribbon out of your way when you're doing it. So, same type of thing on this. Just figure out where it goes. I'm trying to get the sewing machine out of my way. And I'm just going to tack it so it doesn't move on me. And I like to tack the middle because same thing, I don't want this to be loose because it will present problems. So I'm going to measure that and see where that needs to be. If I can find my chalk pencil. So 6 inches. I'm just going to put a real light chalk mark there. And then a light chalk mark here. And same thing on this side. These will wash off. Why can't I? What? Okay, I don't know. I did something weird. 6. 6. Should be 2. Why is it not 2? Six and 6 is 12. Oh, you know what it is? It's because it's the fabric. That's what it is. I was so confused there for a minute. I was like, what did I do wrong? Why am I not in the right place? It's because I've got the extra for the fabric. Goodness gracious. So it's not 6 anymore and 2 because now I have an extra probably 1/4 inch on each side. So we're just going to measure what half is and do it that way. Because now it's not quite the same. Yeah, now it's 14.5 instead of 14. So that would mean 7 1/4 is my center. All right, so I'll just mark this 7 1/4 center, and then I know basically 2 inches on each side of that is where my spine is. So I just want to make sure that or an inch rather, not 2. I want to know where to put the glue. So about here. And it's just a guideline. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly exact, but in there. This chalk will rub off. So there and there's where I want my glue. Okay. So I'm going to come all the way to this side. Right there. And grab my fabric pad. See this part? So I'm still going to flatten it out some because I just want this secured. Most of it will be hidden by the signature anyway. So it's about 2 inches, so that should be about right. That way, it just helps when you're sewing it, if that is nice and secured on there. I find it's easier. Now, of course, alternatively, you could just put the pocket on this side and this side and not have a pocket in the middle, but I usually just deal with one piece. It's easier. All right, so there's that. And we'll sew it on there. You can also glue it. If you don't want to sew, you don't have to sew. But I'm going to sew it. I got my sewing machine out. I got time. Might as well. Like I said, it can look kind of cool with more than one stitch anyway. I think. Personally, as long as my bobbin doesn't run out, which is a possibility. Although I did fill it before we started. So we'll see. We shall see. It will stay. Hopefully. So remember, you got the pocket, so don't sew your pocket closed. Oh, that's why I wanted to sew that side. I wonder if I can get in there. It does have a thing. I forgot about the pocket. Well, let's see. Let's see if I can get in there. If I can, I'll do it. If I can't, then I'll have to glue it. All right. I'm trying to find... I totally just like had a whole total brain fart. I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. I just wanted to clip that side. I wanted to see if I can squeeze this over this or not. I don't know if it'll work or not. It might not. Let's see. If I sew it from there, turn, 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 turn. Can I get it all the way to that edge? Not quite. Almost. All right. We can't sew it. I could. Well, I could sew the bottom. I just can't sew the sides. So maybe I'll do that. I'll just sew the bottom. I'm not going to sew the sides. Because I forgot to put it on when I did this piece. That is our pocket. And that's why you have to do it first. Because I can't fit this around and sew it. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to sew the bottom. And that will at least have some sewing on there. I clip this though because it's going to move on me otherwise. But I've glued many of them. I think probably honestly most of them. If it really bugged me that I didn't have sewing on there, I could just sew the piece by itself so that it would have that, but I don't think that's a big deal either. Trying to match. It's just a little long on that side. That's fine. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and sew this bottom because I'm sorry, I'm rethinking. I am going to sew this piece. I'm literally just going to fake sew that one edge there and the same thing on the other side so it looks sewed because I think it'll just look more consistent. Because I messed up and didn't do the whole thing at once. And I think I'd rather it look consistent, so I'm going to go ahead and just sew it. It won't really be sewed, but it'll be fake sewed. Pretend sewed. Oops, if I don't catch my thread. Hold on. Try that again. I don't know what I caught. I caught something. Try that again. Really, sewing machine? Why are you being a pain? I don't have a seam ripper handy. Well, actually, I probably have one in there. It didn't want me to fake sew it. I'm going to do it anyway. Like it or not, mister. I think I must have caught the edge of that thread. You come here. Sometimes it doesn't like that thin piece. We'll try it again. See if I can do it. All right, one more time. Oh, come on. Sewing machine's big. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's not happy. It's got weird stuff going on there with my bobbin. Seriously. Hold on. Something got all tangled in there. We shall rethread the bobbin. See if we can fix it. I don't see nothing weird. Make sure I get this on right. Clockwise. Yes. All right. Get in there. And grab it again. Come on. Oh my goodness. There. Okay. I don't know what happened there. It does that every now and then. Honestly, I think I need it serviced. But I haven't had it serviced, so. Alright, There, we got a line down that side. Let's try to do a line down this side. On the other one. I think it doesn't, it probably doesn't like it being so thin. As long as I keep it taut. Maybe I need to change the tension a little. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a great sewer, so we'll go slow. Okay, and I'm not going to back up on it. It doesn't like that. Okay, now we have two fakey things on there. And now we're just going to do the bottom. So we align it up again. Make sure it lines up nice and snug so we don't get wrinkles. All right, how to fix it when you mess it up. 9 out of 10 times there is a fix. I wonder how far that thread comes in. See if I can feel it. Okay. I'm close. I don't really care if it shows because, like I said, I kind of like it. I think it gives it a little more rustic look, but it's just me. And luckily Don tends to be like me, so. You are going to fight me, aren't you? Where'd that tweezers go? I just had them. Nope, I buried them. All right, we'll grab another pair. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it flat. Flat. Stay flat. We have our bottom and then our fake sewed edges that we're going to glue. So it looks sewed. Okay. Hopefully y'all followed that. So we have a flap with some really bad sewing. But it doesn't matter because you can only see the top anyway. And then this is sewn, so on the front you'll see 2 stitches there, but that's okay. It kind of just looks rustic. And then this we're going to glue. So we're just going to pull it back, throw a little bit of Fabri-Tac on there, I think. Where does it go? There. A little bit of glue there. And I'm just going to smooth that out with my finger. It doesn't bleed through the top as much. There's that side. There. Okie dokie. Roll that off my finger. Okay. Let me see. I think that is all the sewing. I'm going to pull this out of the way. 1 second. Let's see what we got. Okay, let's see. How do we do? Okay, we have our inside cover with 2 pockets. Chalk off of there. And we have our back with our pocket for our writing board. And our front. Okay? So that is our journal. Spine, back, and front. And then at that point you can decide if you want to glue the edges or not. You can only glue certain places. Like here, I could glue just a little bit right there where the paper bag is showing. But you got to be careful not to glue your pocket shut, so put it on fairly thin. Just enough to keep that material flush to that paper. Sometimes I get it close enough, none of the paper's showing at all, but sometimes it shows a little. It's not a huge deal, but try to get it as close as I can. Just don't want to glue this pocket close, that's all. So I'm only catching that little bitty top piece. And that just seals everything up real nice. Okay, so there's that. Just push everything down. And then the same thing on this edge, if there's anything, you know, showing. Usually I catch the cardboard enough. As long as I catch the cardboard, then there shouldn't be anything but material showing. But on the pocket part, you can't usually do that, so pretty good. Looks like it might have a little bit showing there. So here I've got some. So I'll just glue that down. If I can get hold of it. And that just keeps it all nice and flush so that you don't see that cardboard. And flip it over and do the same thing. Assuming it's showing. We'll see. Like fingernails, so sometimes it's hard to pick up. Just a teeny bit showing. This is just one of the steps I do. Is it absolutely necessary? Probably not. Some people might not even care. I don't know. I like it to be nice and snug though. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. So there we go. We are done. Now I may do more. I'm going to ask Dawn how she feels about it, if she wants anything else done to this. I didn't find anything I liked. I tried to find like a flat mushroom or a flower or even a butterfly or a bug to put just like maybe right in the middle, but I just couldn't find anything. I would love to have like maybe something that says field notes. So I'm going to keep looking, but at this point we're just going to leave it plain, and then I'll decide if I want to do anything like that later. But that is our cover. I will do the same thing with the other material and make another cover. I'm not going to do it on camera because there's no reason for me to do both. And go from there. All right. Hopefully I'll like that and it wasn't too confusing. I try not to be too confusing, but I know it can be a little confusing your first time. It was for me, so, you know, I understand that. But if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Just send me a message and I will get back with you and answer your questions. All right. y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. We are done. I will be back on Friday. Hopefully I will get home. I have to go pick up a cake, get stuff for my daughter's birthday, because her birthday is Easter. And everything closed due for her birthday. Alright, y'all take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.